Since the last moon race, the US has become the dominant space power in the world. What once was an interesting competition between the Soviet Union and America has become a complete supremacy that is not even fun to watch anymore. Failed missions, broken modules, and a Russian space agency that has not innovated a bit since the last century are not a decent opponent to the leader in space. But in the middle of all this decline, a new space power is rising, and in the same way as the Soviets challenged the Western values in a space race, the new player is also trying to use the moon landing as a showcase to demonstrate their moral, economic, and technological superiority. China is not a minor player anymore. They are without a doubt the second space power in the world, and after building their own space station, collecting samples from the moon, and developing all kinds of new technology, they are ready to challenge the US for the first place. But is it really a good idea? China has been closing the gap with the US thanks to their hard work and rapid progress, but also thanks to the American inefficient spending and their stubborn reliance on legacy companies that work slowly and badly. But in a space race, all of this could disappear. In the same way as a bunch of young people in the 60s were capable of putting a man on the moon, all the new American companies led by SpaceX could also deliver great progress if there is enough money and motivation. And the stakes are even higher now. The moon isn't just a symbolic prize, it's an important place for any economic superpower, with lots of valuable materials and a strategic location to send missions to the rest of the solar system. So who will be the real winner of this race? Could China expose the expensive and slow US space program? Or could this be the fastest way to revive the American spirit that won the first race to the moon? Why is the moon race so important? We already went to the moon 55 years ago, so what is driving the US and China to go again? Well, for China is a good way to demonstrate their technological advancements and to prove the world that they are as good as the Americans, and for the US, it's just a way to remember everyone who's still on top, and we should be grateful for that. Not so long ago, when the leading economic, technological and military powers wanted to prove who was the real boss, they started wars that killed people by the thousands or millions. So it's good that during the last century, and after experiencing the disasters of global conflicts, we learned that there are other ways to dunk on your political rivals, especially when these new ways don't include dead people and bring progress to everyone. The Cold War was the first time that humans did something like this. What could have been a two-way massacre using nuclear weapons ended up being a technological race to demonstrate who was the first to send a human to the moon. And it seems like this goal is still a nice benchmark to measure who is the boss in space. It doesn't matter who has more active satellites, who sends more mass to orbit, who has the bigger space station. As long as you send someone to the moon before your rival, you will be remembered like the winner. That's basically what happened to the Soviets, first to send a satellite, first to have an astronaut in space, and first to many other things, but they never put a man on the moon. So the Americans won the space race, or at least this is how we remember it. In reality, things are way more complex, but what it's clear is that these incredible goals make people and countries push harder and achieve amazing things, and also that achieving the goal is not enough. The US is not the leader in space because they put a man on the moon in the 60s. They are the leaders because they keep pushing this industry, and even though they are not as efficient as they should be, they are still the ones with the most advanced technology. So again, why do we keep measuring our big progress with the moon race? Apart from the symbolic part of it, we currently have a real economic incentive to go there, and also to go there before anyone else. The winner of the new moon race won't be the first to send a couple of guys to take a few photos. This time, the winner will be the one who sets up a working base on the south pole of the moon, as it has some water which can be used as a rocket fuel, and because it's a strategic place to be, with solar incidents almost all day around. So here we have it, an important strategic place, and the recognition of the whole world is enough motivation to spend billions of dollars on this project, but having a clear goal is not enough to send people to the moon and try to colonize it. China has been progressing very fast, but to send a couple humans to the moon, they would need to develop a new heavy lift rocket and a lunar module, which is not easy. Remember that the Soviets, which were very good at space things, were not even close to get there, as the rocket exploded multiple times and the rest of the development was never done. And the US has also a lot of homework to do. They have a big rocket, but it's too expensive and won't be sustainable in the long term, and they still need to develop the lunar module and the spacesuits. Currently, the Artemis program to send humans to the moon is just a way to keep senators and big contractors happy, but not an efficient way to do space exploration. And if it continues like this, China will for sure have a better option to accomplish this mission. That's the key factor that will determine who gets there first. If the US keeps spending money like this, they won't be able to compete with the Chinese in the long term. And in the same way as China has managed to put into orbit an operational space station in just a few years, they will be able to set up a moon base too, and for a fraction of the cost that the Americans will be paying. The US leader position in space is an illusion. If it weren't for SpaceX, China would already be deploying more satellites, and they would have more space capabilities. Without the Falcon 9, America would be behind China in space development, and they would be in a very bad position to compete in this moon race. What made America great in the past is the same spirit that the Chinese have now, hard work and a hurry to accomplish things, which is precisely what the Americans are lacking. We've spent too many decades with huge inefficient companies earning lots lots of money to do a mediocre job because there was no competition and the US was way ahead of everyone else. But that doesn't work anymore. You won't beat China with Boeing. You need SpaceX and many other new space companies, and you also need them to be able to work without hundreds of constraints and regulations. This month, SpaceX has shown how the FAA is slowing them down, taking longer to do some paperwork than SpaceX takes to build new rockets. That should not be like this, and for sure that China is not wasting money and time on this type of things. That's how they are developing new rockets and building more space infrastructure than everybody else. The only way that America can win this race is by relying on the hungry space companies that want to provide these services and allowing them to do that, in the same way as we did 60 years ago. And that's precisely what the Chinese are causing, a real fear into the hearts of the American people who will be blamed if China wins the race, and maybe forces them to finally do some efficient work instead of wasting the taxpayer money on gigantic and expensive projects that accomplish nothing. What is clear is that without this space race, and without having to prove that America is still on top, the US politics would have continued with its expensive and inefficient projects, and America would have dug its own grave one regulation at a time. Thanks to the competition from the Chinese, we may finally have some hurry to build things, and we will stop putting obstacles in our own way, because the only nation that can beat America at the space game is America itself. And maybe, if the threat from China is important enough, we will stop being so conservative and inefficient, and we will accomplish some rapid progress that for sure we need. But what do you think? Is China really going to be a threat to the US, or will America stop wasting resources and go back to being the builders that they were? Leave a comment with your thoughts and subscribe if you want more of this. And as always, take care and learn more.